Chapter 51. By a hair's breadth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 51. By a hair's breadth. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Everyone needs to bear the consequences of his ignorance and recklessness. You will not only pay the price, at the same time you will drag your classmates along. Sun Wei lectured with an overbearing presence in a cold demeanor. I will train them well and give them an unforgettable experience. You sure love to bullsh***, replied Yi Lingchen calmly while staring at Sun Wei. Since you're impatient to die, I'll grant you that wish. Sun Wei sneered. Up until this moment you still want to get the upper hand in the exchange, he thought to himself. Finishing his sentence, he leaped into the air with his legs raised. From above, he aimed directly for Yi Lingchen's chin. That kick, flying through the air, was so quick that the air crackled with the sound of rushing wind. The crowd could only see that a shadow flashed by, followed by ringing sounds in their ears. Too fast and too strong. An average person would have his mouth full of teeth all broken. Concussive damage would be considered the luckier outcome. The next instant, Yi Lingchen moved as well. His movements were similar to Sun Wei, raising his leg. However, last to act, first to reach. Bang. Both legs clashed and the terrible sound of bones fracturing rang out, causing goosebumps to raise for the crowd. Sun Wei wailed, his leg bent immediately and knelt on the ground. His heart was racing. His leg bones were broken, the entire leg was maimed. The whole field fell into a deathly silence. This. Many people stuttered but were at a loss for words. Sun Chao's eyes almost popped out of its sockets. His mouth wide open, unable to close. His brother went on his knees. Inconceivable, unbelievable. Just a second ago he was still putting an air of confidence, as though everything was under his control. The next second he's down on his knees, unable to even stand. The stark contrast shocked everyone, their eyes popping open wide, leaving their minds blank. No. Impossible, barked Sun Chao aloud. In his mind, his brother was a god-like existence. No matter what came up, his brother would settle it with ease. When it came to fighting, he was undefeated. Sun Chao's eyes were bloodshot. His entire person on the edge of his sanity. At that moment, his grasp on reality shattered, his beliefs crumbled. This type of impact almost stopped his heartbeat, his heart almost exploded. How could his god lose? And of all things being taken out by a university student in one hit. He Yuan had already stealthily gone down from the main stage. His face was ashen, his eyes filled with dread and looking at Yi Lingchen. How is this a student? This is a monster in humanoid form. Sun Wei locked his gaze at Yi Lingchen, his eyes turning red, not bothering to hide his intent to kill. He spoke in a ghastly tone, B****, you've triggered me now. Believe me, you will die a horrible death. Evildoers will meet their demise. Yi Lingchen remained expressionless. This following kick is for Instructor Zhou. Thud. He lifted his leg and kicked toward Sun Wei's side. Sun Wei was on one knee in front of Yi Lingchen. That kick landed firmly on his shoulder. In an instant, Sun Wei flew outwards, exactly like how he sent Zhou Hui flying. However, while in mid-air, Sun Wei's face turned icy. His gaze knife-like, sticking to Yi Lingchen. His other hand suddenly reached behind his back. It was a gun. The black hole at the tip of the gun raised goosebumps all over Yi Lingchen's body. His body bent sideways and made a side flip without hesitation. Bang! A clear sound louder than thunder caused everyone's ears to ring. On the main stage, there was a hole in the marble. The next moment, shrieks of horror broke out from the field. Sun Wei's shot missed. He prepared to continue looking for his target. However, a black shadow stepped hard on the pillar of the main stage, flying directly at him like a rock with its wings spread wide. Yi Lingchen understood that he must not run when facing a gun. Instead, he had to close the distance. Only then he would have a chance of survival. No matter how fast a person could run, could he outrun bullets? While his body was in mid-air, Yi Lingchen struck like lightning and grabbed Sun Wei's hand that wielded the gun. Raising his foot, he struck out directly at Sun Wei's abdomen. Bang! Both of them landed at the same time. Yi Lingchen squinted at Sun Wei, holding the gun pointing directly at Sun Wei's head. In the field, various sound of gasping, crying, and heartbeats all mixed together. The atmosphere turned extremely heavy. Pull the trigger. Blood was leaking out of the corner of Sun Wei's mouth, yet he still laughed without care. Witnessing Yi Lingchen's silence, his laughter grew louder. Ha ha ha, do you dare pull the trigger? B*****, you're dead. Not only did you attack a martial artist, but you've also stolen a gun in retaliation. You're done for. Sun Wei looked mockingly at Yi Lingchen. The warriors department won't let you go. Just wait for your punishment to come. Vroom. At that moment, engine sounds could be heard. A large jeep rushed over. 3 people came down from the car. 2 of them were ordinary martial artists. Another person stood in the middle, his chest carried a bright twinkling badge. 3 green stars, an upper-class warrior. Ha ha ha, the upper-class warrior is here. B*****, you're dead. Sun Wei could imagine the terrible fate awaiting Yi Lingchen. After the warriors department arrest you, I'll make sure to take good care of you. Sun Chao limped over and started to list out Yi Lingchen's offenses. Yi Zi, just relax. We will be your witness even if it means putting our lives on the line. We believe in the warriors department. Those 2 are but black sheep. That's right. Yi Zi, I will be your witness too. Yi Zi, if you're framed, I will bring the whole class, and even the school involved to appeal for you. The Warriors Department is but an organization that trains martial artists. I don't believe that they can do as they like. The students gathered around Yi Lingchen spoke out firmly. That upper-class warrior heard Sun Chao's words, quickly walked over without expressing any opinion. The moment he saw Yi Lingchen, a smile appeared on his cool expressionless face. Brother Yi, I should have known it was you. Lin Ao walked forward and patted Yi Lingchen on the shoulders, smiling. Brother. Brother Yi. Sun Chao and Sun Wei both had their minds blown, the color drained from their faces. They exchanged looks, witnessing the bitterness in each other's eyes. This B**** knew someone within the warriors department. And an upper-class warrior at that. Yi Lingchen too broke into a smile and handed the gun in his hand to Lin Ao, big brother Lin. Lin Ao received the gun, then scowled at Sun Chao and Sun Wei. Brother Yi, what happened? Sir martial artist, I can be a witness. Please do not wrongfully accuse Yi Lingchen. Sir martial artist, I represent the girls in the 6th class to report our instructor. The hot-bloodedness of youngsters was fully displayed at that moment. Their face flushed red while retelling the entire story. Sun Chao and Sun Wei's actions incurred a trauma in their hearts. At that moment it finally burst forth. From the beginning to the end, Lin Ao stood straight as a board. Under the scorching sun, he listened quietly. His eyes swept over the students' nervous faces that were filled with anxiety. He stood there for over an hour, listening. His eyes turned red. Chapter 52. Martial Artist Training Camp. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 52. Martial Artist Training Camp. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Attention. When the students calmed down, Lin Ao roared suddenly. The 2 other martial artists that accompanied him straightened their bodies as well, the 3 of them straight as a plank. Salute. Synchronized, all 3 gave everyone a military salute. 5 minutes later, they finally ended the military salute. I represent the third branch of the Warriors Department and hereby apologize to everyone. Lin Ao proclaimed, the martial artist is a sacred occupation. The Warriors Training Association was created to protect our country and our people. Never had I imagined that within the ranks of martial artists would be these black sheep. This is my negligence. For the injuries you have suffered, I am sorry. Finishing his words, he once again put on a military salute. I can guarantee that martial artists are still sacred. Please believe me. We believe. Lil Jen led the cheer and was immediately followed by thunderous applause from the crowd. As the incident involved guns, it was considered a severe infraction. Lin Ao had everyone keep the incident under wraps, and reported it as an electric bike's battery malfunction which led to an explosion. At the same time, Yi Lingchen filled in a form to transfer his martial training to a different location. Brother Yi, I need to thank you for this, Lin Ao said sincerely. All the while, he was still plagued with guilt. The Warriors Department cannot be stained. If not for Yi Lingchen, who knew how long Sun Chao and Sun Wei would have had their way. How many more students would have to suffer their torment? The fear of such a situation lingered. Big Brother Lin, be more optimistic. This incident is unrelated to you. Yi Lingchen nodded. From Lin Ao, he could see the shadow of most martial artists. With such a group of people, would China fear outsiders? I still can't let this go. Lin Ao sighed, I will surely remember this incident. Martial artists are our roots, we can't let it decay. After a moment of silence, Lin Ao added, right, you should go pack up. I'll bring you over to our ranks. We're going today. Yi Lingchen's mouth opened wide with surprise. It was already 7 p.m. The original plan was to come over this morning, but we faced some delays. Lin Ao made a gesture, don't forget, I'm not your superior. This is an order. Yes, sir. Yi Lingchen saluted, playing along. The jeep accelerated forth. Along the way, the four of them stopped by a stall by the road for their dinner before continuing onwards. Big Brother Lin, what do you plan to do with Sun Chao and Sun Wei? Yi Lingchen asked during the ride. Speaking of those two, Lin Ao's face once again turned gloomy. Sun Chao bullied students during martial training. He's already racked up quite a bad record. That should be at least 20 years of imprisonment for him. Sun Wei not only protected him but also abused his authority and used a gun for personal matters. His offenses are even greater. Even if he is spared from death, life imprisonment is unavoidable. Yi Lingchen nodded, then continued his query, Big Brother Lin, what is the Blue Wolf Special Training? Blue Wolf Special Training is one of the special training regimes provided by the Warriors Department, located in the Xihai Province. Apart from that, Northern Division Special Training located within Capital City is named Coiled Dragon. Eastern Division Special Training located within Jiangbei Province is named Ferocious Tiger. Lastly, the Southern Division Special Training located in Huizhou Province is named Hunting Eagle. Altogether, they represent the qualities of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Howling Wolf and Eagle Vision. Lin Ao paused, then started evaluating Yi Lingchen. Brother Yi, Sun Wei had gone through 1 month of training in the Blue Wolf Special Training. His combat power was admirable. Though it was not surprising that you could defeat him, but you managed to disarm him while he's holding a gun. That is an amazing feat. That was a gun. Against the fleshy body of a human, how can it compare? I was just lucky. Yi Lingchen rubbed his nose. He still had lingering fear when he recalled the incident. After a brief exchange, Yi Lingchen learned that Lin Ao had similarly gone through special training, but instead of Blue Wolf, he underwent Coiled Dragon training within Capital City. The 4 special training camps had no special advantage over another, but there were still some competition between them. Duels were common. All 4 training camps will recruit a set number of martial artists. These martial artists were all elites from within the warriors department. Only those that passed through rigorous selection had the chance to join the special training. However, just taking part in the special training did not guarantee their position in the camp. For example, 10 candidates may go through the Blue Wolf special training, but in the end, only one may officially join them. Be it Lin Ao or Sun Wei, they both did not manage to make it into the special class of martial artists. Regardless, even if one just took part in the special training, that person's abilities and potential will be far beyond any ordinary martial artist. 9 p.m., the car finally drove into a compound within the suburbs. The compound was in a rural area within the woods. There were no roads within a 5-kilometer radius. If Yi Lingchen came alone, he would have never found the place. The compound looked a little run down. Part of the walls was falling apart, as though suffering from many years of neglect. It was designed with the classic Sihyuan style. At night, the compound was covered in pitch-black darkness as it had no lights. Their arrival broke the stillness of that place. By the light from the car, Yi Linghen could see a middle-aged man standing beneath the eaves of the building. Square-faced with a height of 175 centimeters, muscular stature. That person gave off a fearsome feeling from just standing there. That is Fang Hong, the person in charge of this division. He's a conservative person with a strict personality. Ranked at lower, class guardian. Please watch your words in front of him. Lin Ao reminded him quietly before getting off the car in a careful manner. Yi Lingchen nodded in response. For Lin Ao to describe a person as such, this middle-aged man was not just any regular conservative Joe. Most importantly, he was lower, class guardian. That's one major rank higher than Lin Ao. Chief Fang, you're still up at this hour. Lin Ao greeted with a smile, then pushed Yi Lingchen forward. This here is the brother Yi I've mentioned previously. Fang Hong just gave a muffled acknowledgement after eyeing Yi Lingchen, making no further comments. Chief Fang, greeted Yi Lingchen. Right, Chief Fang, where are the others? Asked Lin Ao after he looked around. They have went for a weighted hike. You won't see them before 11 p.m. tonight, replied Fang Hong casually. Yi Lingchen's heart skipped a beat, then raised his eyes to look at the contours of the tall mountain in the distance. The mountain is tall, and that weighted part. Just how heavy would it be? Lin Ao was used to this. He asked normally. Something happened in Capital University campus when I was there. Following that, he reiterated the incident of Sun Chao and Sun Wei from earlier. Fang Hong's originally stern face turned all the more dark and gloomy. Yi Lingchen could feel a strong killing intent emanating from his body. You defeated Sun Wei. Fang Hong finally looked directly at Yi Lingchen. Yi Lingchen nodded. Not bad, to weed out the trash from our warriors department. You have done us a meritorious service. I will personally put this on the records for you. After a momentary pause, he continued, send Sun Wei and Sun Chao to the lockup. Since I'm free at the moment, I can give them a nice interrogation. Having said that, he turned around and left. The two martial artists beside Lin Ao dared not delay and immediately started escorting Sun Wei and Sun Chao over. These two are in serious trouble, Lin Ao shrugged, commenting with a tone of enjoyment over their suffering. Chief Fang hated those dishonorable acts, what more when this type of people appeared within the warriors department, and such a heinous one at that. Brother Yi, I'll bring you to your room. Rest well tonight and you'll be joining the troop in their training tomorrow. Big brother Lin, they are still doing a weighted hike at this hour. Is the training so cruel? That exercising will help you get better sleep. Worry not, you will most likely sleep before midnight. For the weights. How heavy is it? Cough cough, not that heavy, not even 100 kilograms yet. Be a bit more specific. 99.9 kilograms. Chapter 53. Extreme Training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 53. Extreme Training Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Yi Lingchen had the notion that he had been completely blindsided by Lin Ao. Compared to the normal martial training, this was clearly hell. The next day, while the moon was still in the sky, Yi Lingchen was woken up by a shrill whistle. Glancing at the time, it was 4 in the morning. Usually, he would wake up at 5 for his morning exercises, but he did not expect that it was this early. After quickly putting on some clothes and washing up, Yi Lingchen rushed to the gathering point. Today, we've got a newbie for everyone to get to know. Fang Hong made Yi Lingchen stand in front of the group. Introduce yourself. My name is Yi Lingchen. I'll be in your care, said Yi Lingchen simply. This training group had 15 people in it, including Yi Lingchen. It was now 16. The others appraised Yi Lingchen curiously. With a babyish face, and pale, smooth skin, he did not look like martial artist material. They could not help but not take him seriously. Surely he couldn't have gotten in based on some connection. Fang Hong handed 4 sandbags at Yi Lingchen. These are wrist and ankle weights. Put them on, and fall in. The 4 sandbags did not look cumbersome, as they were thin and flat. They seemed to have only one metal plate in them. However, when Yi Lingchen took them from Fang Hong's hands, his shoulders suddenly sagged from the weight. He, fortunately, steadied himself in time, or else he would have embarrassed himself. These. Yi Lingchen looked at the sandbags incredulously. These sandbags are filled with a hyperdense material. They look small but are extremely heavy. The red ones are for the ankles, each of them weighed 15 kilograms. The green ones are for your wrists, they weigh 10 kilograms each. During training, they are not to leave your body. You may not even take them off when you sleep. Lin Ao explained from one side. The 4 sandbags cumulatively weighed 50 kilograms. If an ordinary person were to put them on, the question would not be if they could move, but whether or not they could even stand in the first place. Yi Lingchen took a deep breath and wrapped the sandbags around his ankles and wrists. He immediately felt the heaviness on his hands, dragging down his shoulders and nearly making him bend at his waist. He lifted his legs, and they felt as though they were made of lead. Usually, they were nimble and fast, but now he felt that he would not even compare to an ordinary person. Brutal, this was just too brutal. Yi Lingchen exclaimed in his heart. At the same time, a sense of anticipation slowly welled up within him. He originally thought that he had reached the pinnacle of his martial prowess. However, today had let him see that there was yet another peak to be attained through this form of training. If he trained his martial arts with the weights on, it would improve his speed and power exponentially. Why didn't he think of this before? Yi Lingchen took some time to acclimatize to the weight and walked with great difficulty to fall in with the group. It's already pretty good that you can walk on your first time, said Fang Hong bluntly, before turning to look at the group. Begin the training. Item 1. Obstacle course. Run in step to the field. Yi Lingchen straggled at the tail end of the group while he was still getting used to the weights. As they passed the courtyard, the scene opened up before his eyes. It was like another world, a massive training area. There was a shooting range, a boxing ring, and a multitude of obstacle courses. A conservative estimate would still put this place at the very least 5 acres in size. The group stopped at the obstacle course. Fang Hong and Lin Ao stood nearby and observed. Lin Ao, that kid you brought is too young, he must still be a student. Can he handle my training? Asked Fang Hong. Lin Ao looked at Yi Lingchen. I think so. That kid is good with his fists, even I am not a match for him. Fang Hong shook his head. That just means he has explosive power and good technique. It doesn't mean everything. To be a true master, besides your skill, you need endurance, insight, and adaptability. Furthermore, you need to be able to survive in any environment as well as be an able diver. Camouflage and marksmanship are also the most important skills. When heaven opens one door, naturally another one must close. The world is full of specialists who are naturally good at one thing but are not well-rounded. I think he can make it, said Lin Ao with a smile. Fong Hong did not reply but turned to look at the field. The obstacle course had already begun. There were 4 phases in the course. The first was a 15-meter rush up a 60-degree incline before jumping off the edge, then a belly crawl under electrified wire. After getting through the wire, before scaling a 25-meter high rock wall. At the end of it, there was still a gap to be crossed with a plum pile. The plum pile was 100 meters long, but the scariest part was that it was also 25 meters off the ground. From that height, a fall could mean death. At the end of the pile of plums was a rope from which to rappel down to the ground to complete the course. Under normal circumstances, this obstacle course might be scary, but Yi Lingchen would not be deterred. However, his limbs were currently weighed down by the weights. That was what was terrifying. He already had trouble with normal movement, how would he navigate the obstacle course? The others were already beginning their charge forward, only Yi Lingchen still stood there, gawking. This was his first time here, and he did not know a thing. How would he complete such a difficult training course on his first day? He closely observed everyone's actions, hoping to rely on the Prodigy system to learn something. However, the Prodigy system's intake speed was painfully slow if it was purely based on observation. The speed of intake was at a fraction a minute and was basically useless. If you lack bravery, you don't belong in these trials. Go home now while you can. Fong Hong frowned at Yi Lingchen who was still standing there and called out coldly. Yi Lingchen took a calming breath, steadied his heart, and charged up the slope. Fortunately for him, he normally focused on physical training, and even with the weights, the exertion was not too great. However, when he reached the slope, the difficulty of carrying on had increased infinitely. He pushed his thigh muscles to their limit and they were turning to jelly as he finally made it to the top. However, the next challenge would be a 5-meter drop. Yi Lingchen hopped off the platform, and learning from the others, he landed and rolled on his back for a few rotations, but he still felt pain shooting up his entire body. Crawling through the wire seemed easy, but as Yi Lingchen planted himself on the ground, a wave of heat struck him. The surface of the ground must have exceeded 50 degrees centigrade. Furthermore, the deeper he went, the higher the temperature soared. As he crawled through the wire, Yi Lingchen's body was soaked, sweat pouring out of his pores. Due to the heat of the surface, if he lifted his body it would hit the wire, and his hair immediately stood on end, like a scion. The rock wall and the plum pile would prove to be the greatest challenges for Yi Lingchen. His limbs were gripping onto the rock surface, and it was all he could do to reach upwards. His body plastered to the wall, it felt like he took half a day to move slightly. The brutality of the training was like nothing he had ever experienced before. With great difficulty, he reached the top of the rock wall and stepped onto the plum pile. He hesitated with every step and cautiously shuffled forwards. All of the others had already finished the course long ago and watched Yi Lingchen from below. They could not help but burst out in laughter. Chapter 54. I'll give you a 5-minute head start. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 54. I'll give you a 5-minute head start. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Look at him twisting his slender waist. That kid is such a sissy. Look at him. Don't you think it's funny that he just joined our troop midway? He most likely got in through connections. This is unfair. He'll drag the whole troop down by himself. Fong Hong's brows were also deeply furrowed together, shaking his head. Lin Ao, you should send him back. He's not suitable to be here. Chief Fong, Yi Lingchen still not used to it since it's his first try after all. He should be able to adapt to it quickly, Lin Ao said in his defense. Fong Hong had a gloomy expression, said coldly, my troop is not for him to adapt himself. As a greenhorn, Yi Lingchen's performance is somewhat passable. Fang Hong changed his tone drastically all of a sudden, but he should be sent to a martial artist foundation training camp instead of my place. He's lacking too much. Him being here would only drag others down. I don't have the time nor energy to slowly guide him. But Lin Ao was about to try persuading further, but Fang Hong just waved him off. There's no need for words. You should know how precious their training time is. This affects the future of all those present. You wouldn't want us all to wait for Yi Lingchen alone, would you? Lin Ao sighed, then kept silent. At that moment, Yi Lingchen finally finished the course and slowly walked towards the group. Due to the electrocution, his hair was standing upright. There were parts of him that were charred. His body was muddied all over and face covered in dust. He looked extremely disheveled. Seeing him in such a sorry state, the others once again burst into fits of laughter. Hey Gigolo, go back to where you came from. This is not the place for you. A dark-skinned martial artist laughed aloud. Yi Lingchen had paid attention to him. He was the first to finish the course with extreme speed. This dark-skinned martial artist could be considered amongst the best amongst this troop. You should return home, Fang Hong told Yi Lingchen calmly. After that, he turned around to face the others. Attention. Next on the menu is shooting. Get in the shooting range. As expected, those who come in via connections can't last long. The group shook their heads. In front of Fang Hong, the power of one's connections did not matter. Hold on. Surprisingly, a single shout managed to halt everyone's footsteps. Fang Hong glared at Yi Lingchen. If you're thinking of begging me to let you stay, then forget about it. That was my first time, so I'm unfamiliar with it. If we do it again, I'll definitely place first. Yi Lingchen calmly exchanged gaze with Fang Hong. F***CK. You want to get first place? Did you even think I'd let you? The dark-skinned martial artist snapped at him. What nonsense. Utter shameless nonsense. You just tried it once and you want to place first. This kid is a confirmed nutcase. A delusional nutcase. Fang Hong was at first stunned, then started laughing uncontrollably. Kid, do you know how long they have been training here? Fang Hong looked at Yi Lingchen. They each had to go through 5 years or more of training in the Warriors department before they even qualified to train here. Furthermore, they have been doing this type of training for over 3 months. You're just a greenhorn, yet you're thinking of placing first. Yi Lingchen spoke out clearly, one word at a time. I am different from them. F***CK. This was his trying to act tough. We need to show him who's boss or he'll let this go over his head. The dark-skinned martial artist walked forward out of formation, saluted Fang Hong, then spoke out, Chief, please give the order to let me compete with him. Fang Hong looked at the confident Yi Lingchen, hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Wu Yu had always placed first for the obstacle course. If you can defeat him, I'll let you stay. Wu Yu grinned, then stared at Yi Lingchen. Kid, all these years in my life I've never seen someone as arrogant as you are. You did not deserve to compete with me, but your attitude is beyond what I can tolerate. Yi Lingchen suddenly changed his demeanor and looked towards Lin Ao. Big brother Lin, can you please teach me about the techniques to this obstacle course? Lin Ao was flabbergasted. He did not understand why Yi Lingchen, who was just so prideful and arrogant just a moment ago, would turn to him for guidance. The rest were similarly stunned. Wu Yu laughed indignantly. Kid, are you having a laugh? Is this a last-ditch effort? Fang Hong's face was turning ugly from his rage. This is not a place for you to fool around. Do not test my patience. I just need a simple explanation. I guarantee it will not take too much time, said Yi Lingchen, and then turned to look at Lin Ao. Lin Ao was at a loss for what Yi Lingchen was planning, but he went along. When you climb the hill, lower your legs slightly and slant your waist forward. You need to learn how to follow the momentum. Each step is to build up for the following step. As for jumping down from a high spot, you should start adjusting while you're midair. At the same time, Yi Lingchen's proficiency level was rising like crazy. Obtained guidance from Lin Ao, Obstacle Course Proficiency +1. Obtained guidance from Lin Ao, Obstacle Course Proficiency +1. Obtained guidance from Lin Ao, Obstacle Course Proficiency +1. 5 minutes later, the obstacle course proficiency was capped off at 60%. It would seem that Lin Ao's limit was only at 60%. Alright, let's begin. Yi Lingchen smiled gently, his demeanor changed drastically. He styled his Super Saiyan-like hair and walked confidently towards the starting point. That's it. Done. They understood the stuff that Lin Ao explained. It could be said that those were the basics of basic knowledge. It contained no special techniques. As for the kid's sudden confidence, it was baffling. What can you change in 5 minutes? Wu Yu sneered. This kid won't understand unless it's spelled out for him. Ready. Fang Hong stood on the spot and gave the signal, start. Just as he gave the signal, Yi Lingchen and Wu Yu both stood on the spot, unmoving. Kid, why didn't you go? Wu Yu asked curiously. I plan to give you a 5-minute head start. Yi Lingchen gave a generous hand wave. What? Wu Yu's eyes popped wide open, stunned from the shock. I was also planning to give you a 5-minute head start as well. Oh, please don't be humble with me. Once I start, you might start crying, Yi Lingchen replied half-heartedly. Even though he looked terrible at the moment, there was an air of superiority about him, giving off the impression that he was a grandmaster. That's an eye-opener for sure. Is this the legendary forced Bulsh * Ting? This kid is a pro at Bulsh * Ting. If not for his previous performance, I almost wanted to believe him. The ultimate form of Bulsh * Ting is when you believe your own Bulsh * T, and this kid has done it. Wu Yu's already dark face turned even darker. Since you're asking for death, then don't blame me. Having said that, he raised his feet and dashed forward. He was fast. The sandbags on his body were like nothing. Without pause, he navigated past the obstacles as if he were on flat ground. Chapter 55. In Tears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 55. In Tears. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Everyone watched as Wu Yu ran onwards while Yi Lingchen started warming up. He occasionally rotated his body and neck, looking as calm as ever. Even Lin Ao could not bear to watch this anymore, helplessly pressing his palm to his face. This guy, just what was he up to? 5 minutes up. Yi Lingchen got accustomed to the weights. By that time, Wu Yu had already begun climbing, dash. At that moment, his body lowered, then sprinted forth like a cheetah. Rushing up the slope, then jumping down directly in one breath in less than 10 seconds. Fast. Really fast. The crowd that did not think much of him was stunned. Their eyes wide with disbelief, too shocked for words. Yi Lingchen's performance was completely different from what they imagined earlier. Fang Hong's expression darkened, his gaze glued onto Yi Lingchen. Next, crawling. Yi Lingchen twisted his body, slithering forward like a snake. His speed was not much slower than walking upright. 20 seconds, electric fence obstacle course complete. Up next, climbing. Yi Lingchen was like a monkey. Using all his limbs, his body was as though it were weightless, rushing upwards at high speed. At the same time, Wu Yu finally climbed to the peak. His face showing a confident smile. His attempt at the obstacle course was almost perfect, even faster than his previous record by 30%. That kid should be despairing now. Looking at his comrades, he saw the shocked expression on their faces. Even Chief Fang showed an astonished expression. He felt immensely prideful. Are you surprised to finally see what's really amazing? I am the man that's destined to be the king of martial artists. Due to the pride he felt, he raised his hand to wave at the crowd with a smile on his face. However, nobody reacted to his waving. Instead, the shock on their face was only growing. F***ck. Finally, somebody could not hold it in any longer. Right after that. F***ck. F***ck. Everyone blurted out in surprise, followed with their mouths opened wide, standing still like a statue. What's all the F***ck's for? Wu Yu was flabbergasted. Just as he turned around, he felt a gust of wind rushing past, as though a shadow just flashed by. Where's that kid? Wu Yu looked behind him, unable to see Yi Lingchen. Turning around, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could see a figure jumping up and down on the high pillars, progressing at an unimaginable speed. 100 meters of high pillars were cleared within half a minute. Finally, he could no longer hold it in, similarly blurted out in surprise, F***ck. Up to the moment Yi Lingchen landed on the ground, the crowd was still dazed. That included Lin Ao and Fang Hong. Chief Fang, how was that? Yi Lingchen walked up to Fang Hong and asked with a smile. Only then did Fang Hong snap out of his daze. Closing his open mouth with his hand, he coughed and spoke coldly, not bad, I'll consider that as a pass. The rest recovered as well, all looking at Yi Lingchen in surprise. Lin Ao took in a deep breath. His fingers pointed at Yi Lingchen, at a loss for words. In fact, they all felt that Yi Lingchen's previous blunder was all an act. Otherwise, how could he have performed as though he were a completely different person? To become this amazing from just listening to one round of teaching. No way. That was not logical. Wu Yu instead was still standing up at the peak unmoving. His brain circuits were unable to cope with the sudden turn of events. Finally, with a thump, he knelt on the ground, looking towards the distant horizon in tears. You, how can you be that amazing all of a sudden? Lin Ao finally asked with a trembling voice, the same question that was in the mind of everyone else. Didn't you just teach me? Yi Lingchen replied calm as ever, as though it was nothing special. I did teach you, but... Lin Ao was speechless, I did just teach you, but it feels like I am not as great as you are. Wu Yu, stop crying. Come down quickly and head to the second round of training. Fang Hong raised his head and shouted at Wu Yu who was still up there. Oh, yes sir. Wu Yu finally came down after wiping his tears. His eyes were red, with tear marks running down both sides of his face. It was obvious he had suffered quite a shock. The crowd jogged all the way to the shooting range. It was big, spacious, and empty. Yi Lingchen. Yi Lingchen was still looking at the shooting range when he heard Wu Yu's shout as he walked up to him. At that moment, this dark man had dried his tears and his eyes were instead filled with fighting spirit. He said in a serious tone, I admit that you cleared the obstacle course faster than me, but I will surpass you in the future. This time, I will definitely not lose to you in shooting. Oh, you're awesome. Remember to do your best yo, replied Yi Lingchen calmly, then walked past Wu Yu's side. That casual demeanor further increased Wu Yu's feeling of humiliation. His face flushed red, roaring out loud, Yi Lingchen. This is a serious matter. Just you watch. He walked up to the shooting counter in all seriousness and started checking the gun in a practiced manner. It was an average pistol with 10 bullets in it. Everyone else did the same. Yi Lingchen followed suit and picked up the gun in front of him in a similar fashion. Everyone has 10 rounds. Ready. Everyone raised their guns and got into a standard firing position. Only Yi Lingchen was in an awkward position. Fang Hong frowned, zero shooting experience. He's just a student. He can't have come into contact with a gun, Lin Ao replied. In terms of shooting, I will guide him. Fong Hong's attitude had changed drastically, now filled with anticipation. This kid is good martial artist material. If trained well, he might turn out to be a trump card for our country. Begin shooting. Bang. Bang. 5 minutes later, everyone had finished their 10 shots. After that, the shooting scores were displayed on a digital screen. First, Wu Yu. 5 10-point rings, 5 9-point rings. Total score 95. Point. That score was immediately met with a cheer from the crowd. It's Wu Yu after all. His shooting score was always steady. Awesome. If he improves a little more, he will be at the no-miss level. He's not far from being a sharpshooter. At 300 meters, that was already at the maximum range a pistol could aim. Truth be told, an average police officer's shooting training did not go over 100 meters. Yet Wu Yu was able to achieve the lowest score of 9. Point. That was already unbelievably scary. Not bad, but towards the last 5 shots, there was a disturbance in your mind. Your unstable emotions stopped you from hitting 10. Points. Prioritize your attitude. Under all circumstances, you must remain calm. Understand, remarked Fong Hong. Thank you, Chief, for your advice. Wu Yu saluted, then looked towards Yi Lingchen. His eyes were gleaming with pride. Ha ha ha, I'm the #1 shooter. Chapter 56. You've learned it again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 56. You've learned it again. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After that, the other scores were displayed one by one. They were all the cream of the crop of the martial artists. The worst results were one that shot the 7. Point ring once. The majority of them were either 8. Points or 9. Points. The result was considered decent. However, everyone was waiting for Yi Lingchen's score. He did, after all, left quite an impression on them, and finally, Yi Lingchen, 1 3. Point ring, 3 2. Point rings, 5 1. Point rings, and 1 missed the target. Total score 14. Point. F***ck. How far off was that? Is this for real? Is he faking it again? Look, that kid is walking towards the instructor. Both Lin Ao and Fong Hong stared at Yi Lingchen, displaying funny expressions. Brother Yi, you need me to teach you again, asked Lin Ao. That's right. I would like to have Big Brother Lin to teach me how to shoot, Yi Lingchen nodded in reply. Lin Ao felt his heart racing. To be honest, he was starting to feel afraid of teaching Yi Lingchen. In shooting, you must first learn how to hold the gun. This is a pistol. You support it with your arm, holding it tight with both hands. The key to aiming is to focus. When you're shooting, your grip must be tight and not let the recoil affect you. Received guidance from Lin Ao, shooting proficiency +1. Received guidance from Lin Ao, shooting proficiency +1. Received guidance from Lin Ao, shooting proficiency +1. This time around the proficiency level only went up to 50%. Yi Lingchen thought that it had to do with the gun type. After all, Lin Ao had only taught him how to shoot a pistol. However, that should be sufficient. Just 5 minutes later, Yi Lingchen nodded and walked back towards the shooting range. You've learned it again? Asked Lin Ao. The others also had their attention on Yi Lingchen as their hearts raced. I guess so, Yi Lingchen replied casually. I'm ready to give it a try. I don't believe that you can learn how to shoot that quickly, shouted Wu Yu. Yi Lingchen's performance had pushed his worldview to its limits. He was trying his best to protect what was left of his understanding of this world. Chief Fong, please let me compete with Yi Lingchen in shooting. You still want to compete with me? Asked Yi Lingchen in astonishment. Wu Yu kept a stern face. Compete. I must compete. Both of them reached the shooting range at the same time. That moment, the entire world turned silent. Everyone, including Fang Hong, observed the shooting range with great anticipation, trying to keep their breathing quiet. Who do you think will win this time? Logically it should be Wu Yu, but I feel that the kid was just acting dumb, as he had done before. I have that feeling too. That kid is just too abnormal. Lin Ao, what do you think? Asked Fang Hong while standing on the observation platform. Lin Ao kept his silence for some time, then shook his head. Brother Ye's quick progress on the obstacle course might be due to his ability to fight. He's a martial arts practitioner after all, so his physique gave him an advantage. However, shooting and martial arts are two very different things. This time, the improvements might not be as much. Fang Hong nodded in acknowledgement. He won't be in contact with guns under normal circumstances. He's a greenhorn at this. No foundation, no advantage. This time, the results should be obvious. Shooting may seem simple, but it required a variety of knowledge, especially when it came to details that require regular practice. It was not something that could be achieved with just a few words or within a short time. Bang, bang, bang. Right at that moment, gunshots were heard. Yi Lingchen did not move. It was Wu Yu that fired first. This time, Wu Yu's eyes did not blink at all. He adjusted his breathing and mentality to its absolute peak. That was a battle with his honor on the line. His goal was to be the king of martial artists. Losing was not an option. After every shot, he would take a deep breath. It was to calm his nerves so he could be in peak condition. Wu Yu did not hurry, firing one shot after another. Wu Yu is definitely good martial artist material. Fang Hong nodded in acknowledgement. In this troop that he led, however, Wu Yu was the one he was most satisfied with. This person had a natural advantage in terms of physique, and his learning speed was promising. There were always obvious improvements after every instruction given. Most importantly, his passion to be the king of martial artists. Talent and effort added together was an incredibly terrifying thing. Yi Lingchen's impact on him was great. It triggered his competitiveness. Hopefully, after winning this shooting competition, he would be able to readjust his attitude, continued Fang Hong. Lin Ao kept quiet. He felt that the script would be quite different from what Fang Hong had expected. Finally, the shooting stopped. Wu Yu let out a breath of relief and wiped his sweaty forehead. His eyes staring directly on the screen. The rest were also holding their breath, awaiting the results. Wu Yu, 810. Point rings, 29. Point rings. Total score 98. Points. Wah! In an instant, everyone was stunned, followed by cries of amazement. Amazing! This is just too amazing. This result is worthy of the title of a sharpshooter. That's Wu Yu for you. That's setting a historical record right there. As the saying goes, there will be no motivation without pressure. A serious Wu Yu is terrifying. Both Fang Hong and Lin Ao nodded. This kind of result was sufficient to make it into the 4 special training camp of the Warriors Department. Kid, just admit your loss. Wu Yu finally let go off the burden within him. In high spirits, he threw a smile at Yi Lingchen. He felt that he had finally cleared his previous humiliation. My turn. Yi Lingchen did not make any reaction but instead wiped the pistol in his hand. Humph, stubborn. I want to see how you can turn the situation around now. With such wonderful scores in front of them, none had any confidence in Yi Lingchen. Pistol raised, aimed. Bang, bang, bang. 10 consecutive shots without a moment's pause in between, one right after the other. He must be crazy. Every shot has its recoil and he did not pause in between. The following shots would be impossible to aim straight. No matter who fired the gun, there should be at least half a second's pause to realign. He seems to be half-hearted. Was he playing around? I think he just gave up. After all, Wu Yu's score was impossible to beat. Fang Hong too shook his head and sighed. Such half-hearted shooting was an insult to all martial artists. Yi Lingqian's attitude was still lacking, he thought. However, when he shifted his gaze to the score on the screen, it made him jump. His eyes widened so much his eyeballs almost popped out. The rest were similarly shocked. Their bodies trembled and jaws dropped. Yi Lingqian. 9-10. Point rings, 1-9. Point ring. Total score of 99. FF*CK. Wu Yu's lips trembled, his eyes bloodshot. He had started to doubt his own life. Nevertheless, Yi Lingqian frowned slightly. His hand started feeling around the pistol as though he was disappointed with his score. Finally, his gaze fell upon the crosshair of the pistol. He shook his head, calmly stating, "This pistol's crosshair is defective. It's inaccurate." Chapter 57. An abnormal Yi Lingqian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 57. An abnormal Yi Lingqian translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation inaccurate. His words made everyone's heart raced. Fang Hong rubbed his face that was stiff from astonishment, then walked over and explained, "Our guns are all specially manufactured. Accuracy is not an issue." Yi Lingqian shook his head, then carefully inspected the crosshair. After that, he started fidgeting with it. Everyone was flabbergasted. From the crosshairs, a speck of rust came off. The rust was very small but sufficient to block off a part of the crosshair's field of vision and affect the accuracy. This. Fang Hong was stunned. That attention to detail and observation skill was not normal. Even he would not have discovered it. Yi Lingqian was finally satisfied and nodded, "Now this is much better. Let me try again." Having said that, he reloaded in a practiced manner and aimed. Bang, bang, bang. Another 10 consecutive gunshots. Everyone stood perfectly still on the spot, waiting for the score to be displayed on the screen. Yi Lingqian. 10-10. Point rings. Total score of 100. The crowd's mouth dried up. They could only feel numbness in their heart. At that moment, they were at a loss on what expressions or words to express their inner feelings. Wu Yuan stared at that impossible score with his whole body shaking. Again with a thump, he knelt on the floor, tears flowing out in torrents. Countless words merged into a single lamentation, F*CK, this is F*King crazy. Brother Yi, did you really learn this from me? Lin Ao was dumbfounded as well. He had begun to suspect if his superpower was to educate others. That's right. Yi Lingqian nodded honestly. Why do I feel like you're just toying with me? Lin Ao looked at Yi Lingqian suspiciously. Yi Lingqian immediately shook his head, reassuring him, definitely not. The third training session was to practice martial fist. The warriors department was no doubt very powerful. Hence, the martial fist that was taught to all martial artists was a collection of specialty from many schools. Rumor has it that martial fist incorporated various moves from ancient Chinese martial arts. It was then studied by over 100 martial arts experts over a year before concluding its creation. All in all, martial fist was easy to practice and is effective in fights. The move sets may be lacking, but in actual combat, it was the most efficient. Yi Lingqian had never learned martial fist before, therefore he just sat and watched from the side. Observing martial fist proficiency +1. Observing martial fist proficiency +1. Observing martial fist proficiency +1. Very quickly, the moves of martial fist were all memorized by him. Yi Lingqian was confident that he could perform better than everyone else. However, to avoid surprising everyone, he chose to lay low and stood at the side and observed them. If he hurt the feelings of these people right here, that would be a great sin. At the other end of the training ground, Fang Hong was in a great mood. His stern face showed a rare smile, and that smile did not fade away. Lin Ao, you have managed to find a very good seedling for the warriors department this time. He finally spoke out after a momentary pause. I will recommend him into Coiled Dragon. Lin Ao shook his head with a bitter smile. Chief Fang, you're being too optimistic. This guy has no interest in becoming a martial artist. What? Fang Hong's eyes widened. Not only can a martial artist protect the country, but there are also special rights they receive that can help protect loved ones. He doesn't want that. I have tried advising him before, but he claims that he is used to the easy life and does not wish to be tied down. Lin Ao continued, I too thought he was good martial artist material. That was why I sent him here for you to train during his martial training period. Martial training. He's still in school. It was obvious that Fang Hong did not pay Yi Lingchen much notice previously. First-year student at Capital University. Lin Ao kept silent for a moment. Furthermore, as I have said before, he's good at fighting. Very good at it. How does he compare to you? I was not his match for even one move. Gasp. Fang Hong gasped a cold breath, his eyes stealthily swept over at Yi Lingchen. He stated firmly, it's our country's loss if we let this type of person go from the warriors department. I'll think of a way to convince him. They performed the martial fist for a full 3 rounds before finally stopping. By then it was already almost noon. After lunch, they had another hour of break time before the weighted hike training in the afternoon. However, just as everyone stood still awaiting Fang Hong's dismissal, Yi Lingchen, who was just sitting by the side, stood up suddenly. His expression was rather gloomy. Even when he was mocked, his expression was not as ugly. Both Fang Hong and Lin Ao frowned, not saying anything. They just stood there quietly observing Yi Lingchen. Martial artists had always been the pride of the Chinese people. It's the backbone of the entire nation. Yi Lingchen's face displayed a sternness that was never seen before. Before I visited this place, if someone were to ask me what's a martial artist, I would say that a martial artist is all powerful. However, just now, I suddenly feel disappointed. Disappointment beyond words. Yi Lingchen's voice was not loud, but it managed to garner the attention of this crowd. All of their burning gazes fell upon him, with many of them scowling. Disappointed. Why are you disappointed? Right now, if someone were to ask me what is a martial artist, I would say, trash. At least that's how you are in my eyes. All 15 martial artists there started breathing heavily. Their furious stares locked onto Yi Lingchen, each of their face burning red hot. Humiliation. Extreme humiliation. Wu Yu took a step forward, his eyes burning with rage as he stared at Yi Lingchen, shouting furiously, I'll admit that you are very capable. But that doesn't mean you can humiliate us just like that. Humiliate you? No, no, no. The one doing the humiliation is you yourselves. You guys don't even deserve my humiliation. Rustle. At that moment, everyone had their fists gripped tightly. Their bodies slanting forward, as though ready to dash forth and fight Yi Lingchen to death. Lin Ao was about to step in but was pulled back by Fang Hong, don't go. Let him speak. What's this? You're not convinced. Yi Linghen smiled. He pointed at them, saying, want to beat me? Sure. I'll give you this chance. Just earlier I watched you perform the martial fist, and I've learned a thing or two. I'll fight you guys with martial fist. Yi Lingchen's tiger-like eyes swept through the entire troop. You can choose to go on point 1, or all at once. Come. You're crossing the line. Wu Yu immediately rushed out of formation, his gaze glued onto Yi Lingchen, I've joined this troop for 11 years. Trained in the martial fist for 11 years. You think you can defeat us after watching it just once. You've trained for 11 years yet you're still this bad at it. No wonder you're trash. Yi Lingqian's casual tone immediately caused Wu Yu's eyes to turn red and he immediately rushed forward with a roar. Ha! Striking like the wind. However, Yi Lingqian only stretched out one hand, catching Wu Yu's fist and twisted slightly. Wu Yu's entire body felt powerless, unable to muster any strength. After that, Yi Lingqian swept with his leg, causing Wu Yu to fall facing the sky. Footnotes. Ch 57 Footnote 1 in Raw it's written as Fang Hong, but we believe that was a mistake and the author meant to have Wu Yu here as he was the one competing with Yi Lingqian. Chapter 58. Down this chicken soup. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 58. Down this chicken soup. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The technique Yi Lingqian used was the grappling hold of the martial fist. He easily nullified Wu Yu's attacks and subdued him. This is the result of 11 years of training. Yi Lingqian asked Wu Yu, giving him a condescending look. I. Wu Yu dejectedly, at a loss for words. Anyone else still unconvinced? Yi Lingqian eyed the crowd. At that moment, those who were on the verge of challenging him went silent, avoiding Yi Lingqian's gaze. With that, you're already scared. Running away. Turns out it was praise to call you guys trash. Yi Lingqian's expression turned serious. We are not trash, shouted someone. We are not trash. This time, all 15 roared in unison with a booming voice. At least there's still some fighting spirit. Yi Lingqian nodded, however this fighting spirit should not be spent on shouting. It should be used in training, and on the battlefield. You know why I said you're all trash? That's because you are lazy. Yi Lingqian's gaze swept across their faces. You think that just because you start early and end late, training according to plan, it's considered putting in effort. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Training needs to show results. Your martial fist moves were not meeting standards. Every punch lacked power. Is this what you meant by training? Instead of wasting time like that, you might as well disband and head home early. Yi Lingqian was furious. The reason for his rage was due to watching them practice so casually. Despite having 15 people practicing, Yi Lingqian's martial fist proficiency only raised to 20%. From that, one can tell how bad their mastery over martial fist was. The scene went silent. Some were ashamed, some unconvinced. What's the main objective of your training? Is it the training course? Training time? Training intensity? None of the above. Yi Lingqian said coldly, it's spirit. It's a person's spirit. You were only completing the daily training like a machine. Even if you were given more time, you will not improve an inch. Isn't that the same as trash? Yi Lingqian looked at them. There are people from the same batch that's been chosen to enter the 4 special training camps, right? Everyone nodded. In the same batch, why did they manage to enter while you couldn't? Yi Lingqian said ruthlessly, compared to them you're the rejects, failures. Some started breathing heavily, some had their eyes reddened, but nobody spoke up. You tell me, are rejected failures not trash? Nobody answered. Everyone's faces were flushed red as blood rushed to their faces. The humiliation was eating them up inside, making them extremely embarrassed. Why did others manage to do it while we can't? What was once a comrade, would now look down on themselves from a higher place. As for themselves, why could they not stand above others? You are too easily content. Are you proud of yourselves for becoming martial artists? Did you think that with such daily training that it's already sufficient? All of them were silent. Everyone was breathing heavily with reddened eyes. I'll ask you again. What is the purpose of your training? I want to be the king of martial artists, shouted Wu Yu, his eyes red. I want to protect my country. I want my family to be proud of me. All 15 people spoke up one after another. Wrong. All wrong. Yi Lingchen shouted. It's for yourselves. The more you sweat, the less you bleed. If you don't train wholeheartedly, entering the battlefield will cost you your life. Everyone, including Lin Ao and Fang Hong, felt blood rushing to their faces, turning them red. It may be due to the surrounding martial artist, or it could be his sudden inspiration. Yi Lingchen could not control himself but to pour forth with this potful of chicken soup for the soul for everyone. We understand our mistake. Wu Yu's body trembled, straining his voice, and his face reddened as he shouted. What's your mistake? Asked Yi Lingchen. Training is for ourselves. It's not for missions but our lives. We need to pour in all our efforts wholeheartedly, shouted Wu Yu while standing straight as a plank. The rest were also showing an expression of utmost dedication, their eyes gleaming when looking at Yi Lingchen. Yi Lingchen nodded, good. Only by raising your spirits will your training show results. Remember your dream to finish. You must always remember your current condition. Affirmative. 15 martial artists shouted in unison, their voice thundering. Yi Lingchen coughed, then with an awkward expression took a peek at Fang Hong. This is bad. Acting cool was fun, but now it's a little hard to wrap up. Fang Hong threw a glance at Yi Lingchen, his face lit up with a smile. It's fine. Morning training is over. Go for your lunch. Chief Fang, we are not tired and wish to continue. Wu Yu stood still on the spot. That's right, Chief Fang. Earlier I didn't put in all my effort during training. I wish to have another shot at it. The rest were also unmoving. What bullshit is this? How will you have enough energy to train if you don't eat? All that talk about fighting spirit is nonsense. Food comes first. Yi Lingchen scolded from the side. Ha ha ha. Everyone immediately broke into bouts of laughter. What are you laughing about? Go get your food. Yes, sir. The troop disbanded. This time, the way they looked at Yi Lingchen was filled with the utmost respect. Chief Fang, I'll be getting some food if there's nothing else. Yi Lingchen got ready to leave. Yet at that moment, Fang Hong exclaimed loudly, Yi Lingchen. Here. Fang Hong looked at Yi Lingchen, smiling with satisfaction. You're quite good. Your words are even more effective than mine now. Yi Lingchen scratched his head. Chief Fang must be joking. No matter how effective my words are, I'd still have to listen to you, right? Did you ever thought of becoming a martial artist? Fang Hong looked Yi Lingchen straight in the eye. Chief Fang, I've just entered university and have no such intentions for now. A fleeting look of disappointment flashed across Fang Hong's eyes. He patted Yi Lingchen on the shoulders. All right. Whenever you wish to, just let me know. Go get your food. Lin Ao grabbed onto Yi Lingchen. F***ck, you sure are something. First time I saw you I thought you're quite the talent, and it is as I predicted. How did you come up with those words? Just voicing out my feelings. Amazing. No wonder you're the top student of Capital University. Your words brought out the passion within me. Lin Ao laughed out loud, then dragged him along to have lunch. Fang Hong stood where he was, muttering away, the more you sweat, the less you bleed. Remember your dreams to finish. I need to have someone mark this down. This will be our troop's motto in the future. Chapter 59. That weirdly irresistible masked man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 59. That weirdly irresistible masked man. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. In the afternoon, it was time for a weighted hike. Under normal circumstances, they would have felt nervous and put on a worried face. On that day, however, everyone was filled with a fighting spirit, eager to begin. Even Lin Ao joined the ranks. The weights they carried were originally at 50 kilograms, then added with another 50 kilograms sandbag on their backs. 50 kilograms is not heavy enough. Let me try 70 kilograms. Yi Lingchen voiced out after giving it a try. If that's the case, I want another 20 kilograms as well. Wu Yu too requested instantly. Nonsense. Training has to match your current condition. How can you compare yourself to me, said Yi Lingchen. Even though he was not a martial artist at that moment, his reputation within the troupe was astounding. Nobody dared to refute his words. Wu Yu scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm not your match now, but you will be my target. I'm still the man who aims to be the king of martial artists. Let's start. They arched their backs and started the hike. Although carrying a heavy burden, they were not showing the slightest hint of discontent. Instead, they followed behind Yi Lingchen step by step with a determined look in their eyes. Fang Hong looked at the backs of the group, his eyes blurry. From this group of people, he found the most important quality of a martial artist, passion. In the blink of an eye, half a month's training ended. After bidding farewell to the group, Lin Ao sent Yi Lingchen back to school. Yi Lingchen did not remove the weights from his limbs after the half-month-long training. Instead, he added another 5 kilograms to each limb. When Yi Lingchen opened the dormitory door, his roommates seemed like they just woke up from a dream. They immediately broke into bouts of happy screams. F***ck Yi Z, you're finally back. I haven't seen you in half a month. You're darker and lost weight. I missed you. How was it? Was the training at the Warriors department suffocating? Yi Lingchen smiled. I'm fine, what about you guys? How was the martial training? Ha ha ha, our class ranked first in the entire university for martial training. Even the university authorities praised us in public. Xiang laughed, the new instructor was way better than Sun Chao. Yi Lingchen nodded, what were you guys watching earlier to be that absorbed? Speaking of that, all three of them revealed a weird and indescribable excitement on their face. Yi Z, we found something unbelievable. You probably had no internet access while in the Warriors department. The internet has gone crazy. Lil Jen's face flushed red with excitement, come have a look. Having said that, he clicked on a video on the computer. The video was of high quality, showing a man facing off a wolf. Unfortunately, that man was wearing a mask, obstructing his face from a clear view. This video is a teaser uploaded by Legend of the Heroine. When they were filming, they ran into a wolf. Luckily for them, one of the actors stepped out and saved the crew from harm. Potato's eyes lit up, imagine the situation on the scene. It must be exhilarating. Martial arts expert. That man is a martial arts expert. Xiang exclaimed, the experts are hidden amongst us. Yi Lingchen sat in front of the computer and went on Weibo. The news was released 3 days ago, yet it remained on Weibo's top news for 3 days straight without being replaced. It had over 100,000 comments. I have a PhD in computer science. I'll use both my top and bottom head as a guarantee that this had no signs of being photoshopped. I have a PhD in biology. Based on the size of the wolf in that footage, even if that's not an alpha wolf, it's close enough. Its combat prowess will outmatch 10 adults. Ah, this world has real kung fu. Why was the face hidden? My sixth sense tells me that he is a handsome guy. I've orgasmed with his face hidden. If he reveals his face I will ascend to heaven. Have you guys seen Xiao Feifei? She should be nearby during that time. Hero saving a damsel in distress. From her looks, I can tell that she had probably fallen. Martial arts was something everyone was deeply passionate about that only existed in their imaginations. However, when it was displayed for all to see, it triggered an unimaginable uproar. Of course, apart from those comments, there were also many sh** posters. Of course that's fake. A wolf's strength, bite force, and dexterity is not something a human can compare with. There's a limit to bullsh** ting. Legend of the heroine is obviously hyping this up. Shameless. Only a retard will believe this. Kung Fu. I think you've read too many novels. These people must be ignorant. Why can't Kung Fu be real? Yi Zi here knows it. If it were in the past, Potato would not have believed it that easily. However, after witnessing Yi Lingchen's duel during martial training, he had no doubts about the existence of Kung Fu. Lil, Jen and Xiang nodded their heads in agreement as well. Yi Zi, can you tell what type of Kung Fu is that person in the video using? How is he compared to you? Lil, Jen asked out of curiosity. Yi Lingchen shook his head and gave a simple reply, I just have some slightly better physique. How can I compare to that? I suppose so, Lil, Jen nodded. Martial arts experts were far too distant from the average human, added to his lack of comprehension of how strong Sun Wei was, Lil, Jen could not objectively determine Yi Lingchen's strength. It's 8:30 p.m. Legend of the Heroine's third chapter is about to start. Xiang's face was filled with anticipation. I heard the third chapter is when the ruthless masked guy that wrestled the wolf with his bare hands makes his first appearance. Yi Lingchen looked at the excitable trio and rubbed his nose. Luckily he kept his face hidden during filming, otherwise his daily life would have been a lot more interesting. At that same moment, countless viewers from all over the country were sitting in front of their TV, waiting. Their curiosity piqued, dying to know more about the masked man. Halfway through the third chapter, Xiao Feifei fell down the cliff. The masked man was shown running along the cliff wall, flying to her rescue. What was originally a small dirt mound turned into a towering cliff. As Yi Lingchen did not use any equipment when they were filming, the scene looked all the more realistic. Running on walls, gliding through the air. That entrance stunned many audiences. The movements are smooth and connected. That person is definitely trained. Wow, so handsome. I can't take it anymore, I've decided to be his die-hard fan from now on. I want to see what he looks like without the mask. Are there any spoilers? Does he reveal his face in the end? Something's off. I'm here to watch Xiao Feifei. Why would I end up staring at a masked man? This masked man is weirdly irresistible. My attention would always unconsciously fall onto him. WTF. He's in the same scene with Xiao Feifei, but I somehow felt that Xiao Feifei seemed blurred and the scene is focused on him instead. Although he has a mask over his face, his entire body seems to be captivating. Is this the cameraman's problem? Or there's something wrong with my eyes? Very quickly, a top search titled, Something's Wrong with the Masked Man, appeared on Weibo. F***ck. So I'm not the only one facing this issue. At least I can be at ease now. For a moment there I thought I was developing interest in a guy. Something is wrong with the masked man. If he could trigger such a response with his face hidden, can you imagine if he showed his face? He's definitely in the best actor class. His acting skills are off the charts. Each movement felt perfectly harmonized with the character in the TV series, and he could even steal the spotlight from Xiao Feifei. At that same moment, Li Tai was at the TV station waiting anxiously for the audience measurement results. From February 15, 2020, coins spent on books that aren't selected will be refunded within 30 days. However, fast passes will not be refunded. The selected book will have a mark on the corner of the book cover in 30 days to indicate continuation. Thank you for your understanding. Chapter 60. The Sudden Mission, Unlock. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 60. The Sudden Mission, Unlock. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless fantasy translation. Right at that moment, a slightly chubby middle-aged man walked out. He sported a small tuft of beard, walked over smiling with shades on. Li Tai went up to welcome him eagerly. "Boss Zheng, how's the audience measurement?" The audience measurement statistics after screening could be checked on any phone, but Li Tai grew impatient and went directly to the TV station to get the real-time data instead. "Ha ha ha, old Li, you've struck gold this time." Zheng Bing laughed. "Just before I came out, the audience measurement had just passed 2. It passed 2. Li Tai was stunned, his face glowing. "Really?" "Absolutely. Furthermore, it's going up relatively quickly. Even now it's still climbing." Zheng Bing nodded in confirmation. "Old Li, congratulations on making a big step forward." Huff, Li Tai let out a deep long breath of relief. Now that the anxiety had passed, it was replaced with a sense of uncontainable excitement. In this era where the internet is readily available, everyone was on their computers and phones. Those who would still watch TV were declining, hence an audience measurement of 2 was already a commendable achievement. Li Tai's record was only 1.6. Yi. Why didn't let me down? Yesterday the audience measurement was only at 1.2. It's obvious that most of the viewers are here to watch him. Li Tai thought to himself. The main factor in their popularity boost was because of that video of him fighting a wolf with his bare hands. Next were his acting skills that maintained the popularity of the show. It could be said that he carried the entire TV series by himself. Old Li, this. Why, just what kind of a person is he? You should know, right? Zheng Bing tried to find out more information. He prefers to stay anonymous. It's not convenient for me to expose him. Not even to me. Zheng Bing frowned slightly. Old Li, you know I'm not a blabbermouth. Now that his audience measurements are somewhat guaranteed, our station's plans to invite him to join our variety show. Li Tai laughed bitterly as he shook his head. Boss Zheng, it's not that I don't want to tell you, but I don't have the guts to. You're scared. He has some big shots backing him. Zheng Bing was surprised. Li Tai's expression was serious as he pointed at the sky, muttering, "As big as the sky." Ring, ring, ring. In the male dormitory, Yi Lingchen picked up his phone. "Hello, Sister Feifei." "Lingchen, how does being a celebrity feel?" Xiao Feifei's voice could be heard over the phone, carrying with it a tiny hint of envy. "You're even more popular than me now. Sister Feifei, please don't make fun of me. I'm nothing compared to you." Yi Lingchen replied with a smile. "Weibo and Tieba are flooded with topics about you right now. From wrestling a wolf, saving a damsel, all the way to your astonishing acting skills. They're praising you into the clouds." Xiao Feifei continued, "Are you sure you're not going to join the entertainment industry? If you reveal your identity now, your value will skyrocket. Using this current hype and a few good scripts, you will reach the top with ease. Currently I have no such intention." "Then would you like me to introduce you to some beauties in the entertainment field? They are all pestering me about why." In all desperateness, Xiao Feifei laughed. "Please don't." "Oh right, I have to thank you for that past incident." Xiao Feifei paused, then hesitated for a moment before asking, "In the future? Will you still come give me a massage?" "Sister Feifei, rest assured. I'll be right there when you call." On the other side of the phone, Xiao Feifei finally relaxed. An intoxicating smile appeared on her face. "Are you free this weekend?" Yi Lingchen thought about it, then quickly agreed as he was rather free for the time being. The next day, Yi Lingchen started his first ever class since he entered university. He majored in Chinese literature, and the first class was China's contemporary literature. An almost middle-aged female teacher. After some simple introductions, they started to get on topic. "What contemporary literature titles do you know of? Raise your hand and answer." Very quickly, someone raised their hand to answer. That was their first class, and everyone was burning with passion. Teacher, Pride and Prejudice. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Les Miserables. Teacher, there's also Gone with the Wind. Not bad, those you mentioned are all widely known. However, did you all notice one thing they all had in common? The teacher followed with another question. One thing in common. Everyone was exchanging glances, similarly speechless. All these works originated from different countries and authors. Even their historical backgrounds were vastly different. How could there be something in common? Yi Lingchen sat in an inconspicuous corner. He calmly answered, these are all non-Chinese works. That's right. The teacher looked over at Yi Lingchen, this student is exactly on point. The rest of the class finally realized, as though waking from a dream. They all felt a slight sense of failure. They slowly came to realize that after naming so many literary works, none of them were from China. Our great country had such a long history, with such deep literary foundations. How is it that we did not produce a single work that could be recognized out of the country? Language is the foundation of a country, and literature is the presentation of a country's foundation. Via literature, we can showcase the foundation of our country to the world. However, in the past centuries, we failed to produce even one piece of literary work that is acknowledged by the world. This is something we should reflect upon. I dream to see such a day come to pass. With that, she stood on the podium and bowed towards the students. Yi Lingchen felt a hint of sadness that crept into his heart. China was vast and full of resources. Its population size even ranked amongst the largest in the world, yet in terms of literature, it was this far behind. He could not help but recall the 4 great literary works of China. Journey to the West was translated into The Monkey's Story, Water Margin was translated to the story of 105 men and 3 women. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms was instead translated to the History of 3 Kingdoms. Lastly, Dream of the Red Chamber was translated to Dreams Within a Red House. These names were all a joke, but at the same time, it was also humiliating. Chinese culture was not at all accepted by foreign countries. No matter the product, it was unable to convince foreigners to accept them. If there was such a chance, he would want the foreigners to change the way they look at China. To Yi Lingchen, that was not difficult. Ding! A clear sound came from within Yi Lingchen's head. Prodigy System Mission tab unlocked. Prodigy's appearance, who could compare? Exclusive mainstream mission, make known the name of the prodigy across the world. Trial mission, exclusive compulsory mission. Create a classic literary work within a month and gain 100,000 popularity rating. Mission failure, Prodigy system will be revoked. Mission success, unlock knowledge level. Up ability. PS, popularity increment is tied to players' overall fame, exposure, achievement, respect, credibility, and reputation. F***CK. Yi Lingchen almost screamed out loud within the class. This system had missions. From February 15, 2020, coins spent on books that aren't selected will be refunded within 30 days. However, fast passes will not be refunded. The selected book will have a mark on the corner of the book cover in 30 days to indicate continuation. Thank you for your understanding.